Hello and welcome to Almost 30 Podcast. My name is Krista Williams and I'm so glad you're here. Truly, madly, deeply, I'm so glad you're here. If you're new to Almost 30, you don't need to be 30 to listen. It's just the age and phase my best friend and I were when we started the podcast. We are now over the hill, but we are a podcast that talks about spirituality and wellness. And we've been doing this thing for a long time. We started in 2016. We've grown and evolved over the years. We now have a community all over the world. We do online courses and programs, and we are writing our first book out in 2025. Started from humble beginnings in our closet floors. We've grown it on our own, and I'm so proud to do what we do and to be in community with y'all on the podcast. We have different types of episodes, so we'll do interviews with amazing people and get really deep and juicy and have a lot of fun. And then we'll also do conversations with Lindsay and I, my best friend and co-host. And then I will do solos as well as Lindsay does solos. So we take time to research on things or talk about what's on our heart and really share findings, learnings, and lessons in real time. I myself am a healer. I'm a teacher. I'm a facilitator. I'm a speaker. And I like to really share about things that I've noticed happening in the collective and things that I'm going through personally and share my findings from the field as a human here on earth. So today's episode for our time together is going to be talking about taking up space. So this is a phrase that if you live in Los Angeles, where I live, you've heard it multiple times a day. Taking up space. I'm going to take up space. I'm afraid to take up space. I should be able to take up space. I need to give myself permission to take up space. We all need to take up space. And this notion of taking up space really hit me in a different way this past week. So let me tell you a story, you guys. So your girl went to Abraham Hicks this weekend. If you don't know who Abraham Hicks is a collective group of beings that is channeled through a woman called Esther Hicks that shares information about our ascension and mostly about the law of attraction. If I've lost you, stay with me, okay? If that is weird to you, don't leave. Abraham Hicks is huge. Abraham Hicks has been around for years and years, 20 plus years. The messages have pretty much stayed the same. It's always been law of attraction. It's always been the same type of information over the years. And it's been channeled through YouTube videos, books, all these things. But what basically happens at these workshops that Abraham Hicks hosts is the channeled beings are channeled through Esther, and people go up and they ask questions. So they'll go up on stage and ask questions to the beings about their life, about love, about whatever. So I go to this event with some friends. It felt like a rite of passage being in the spirituality space where I was like, I guess I have to see Abraham Hicks at one point in time. And I'm always down. I always want to be out and about and just kind of learning however I can. And so we go to this event. Abraham is channeled through Esther, gets in her groove, gets started. And what they do is they call on people in the audience. So people in the audience are all raising their hands. They're so excited to go up there and ask their question to Abraham to get their questions answered. And I'm like, I will never ask a question. It's just not in my blood. There's the voices inside my head that say, no one cares about your question. Don't be selfish. Don't make it about you. And even contorting the perfect question so I would look really good or smart or thoughtful of everyone. Like, it's just crazy. What's beautiful about personal growth is if you just are mindful enough to watch yourself in even micro moments, you can learn so much about you. Because even in that whole little conversation about why I'm not raising my hand, you can kind of hear the internal dialogue. So I'm like, I'm not going to ask a question. Not my vibe, not my jam. So Abraham goes to the audience and looks at all the people and points and is like, come up. This person comes up on stage, this man. He sits down. He's like, I knew you would pick me. I get picked first every time. And this is the third or fourth time that I've been picked first to go up and have my question asked. And I am like, jaw drop. I'm like, oh my gosh. And the confidence and gusto that this man had to raise his hand for multiple times, to go up on stage multiple times first, to have his question answered multiple times, just sent me. I was like, okay, this is a very interesting thing that I would never personally do myself, but I'm going to witness. He is sitting on stage, just legs open, arms fully resting on the chair, casual, cool, collected, relaxed, does not care. This man proceeds to ask a series of questions that took us over an hour to answer. We are sitting with this man asking very personal questions about his life and other people's lives of people that he knows, also about his business, also about all these things for over an hour. Okay. I am like, wow. The questions were very nuanced and very weird. They were about other people. They were just all these things. So I'm like, okay, I'm triggered for sure. Next person goes up, another guy. He comes up on stage. He basically says, he says he wants to be a stand-up comedian. He's practicing his stand-up during this thing. And he's like, I just wanted you to tell me about me to Abraham. He's like, I just wanted to hear what messages you had for me. Like, Abraham's a psychic. And this is like live readings. Like, this is Long Island Medium and we're just getting live readings. And he's like, I just wanted you to tell me about me. Just casual, cool, calm, collected, like fully taking up over 600 people's time just to hear questions answered about him. And this proceeds to happen for the rest of the day, where people are just men. It was only men that got called up, or getting called up on stage and then taking their sweet old time, taking up so much space, just feeling so deserving of the space, the time, and attention that they're receiving. And I am a joy, a pleasure, and a delight to go to things. And then if I am triggered, I am not. Because in this moment, I'm like, okay, what message is this for me? And when we are on our personal growth and development journey, we know that all of these situations and circumstances are for us. So this is for me in the most annoying way possible, in a way that cost me $225 to learn more about me and to know why I'm triggered. Because within this room, there was multiple people having the same experience as me. You could feel the tension in the air. And then there was also people that at moments were crying or at moments were receptive or, engaged or whatever. So it's not like all of us were like starting a riot, but most of the sentiment was that. And I had this feeling of like this heightened social anxiety a little bit, where I'm like, this is so unstructured. This is like no clear objective or rule. There wasn't like any flow. And for people that are unable to take up space, we often can feel this feeling of heightened social anxiety because we find very unstructured situations intimidating. We don't know how to be if there's no flow, direction, and structure, and there's no clear objective. It's like the person goes up on stage and we're like, what's happening? Where are we going? What are we doing? What's going on? We don't really know how to be in these like unclear situations and circumstances. And we don't really know how to operate when there's no clear objective. But what I realized in the processing of my trigger and my annoyance in this situation and circumstance, because I had to find the lesson for myself, was that I deeply wanted to take up space. That I was envious of these men that went on stage and just so casually took up the energy, attention, and time of this entire event for hours without apology, without awareness, without any thought of what anyone else was thinking, what anyone else was doing, if they were deserving of this, if they, if it added value to everyone else. And I was like, I would love to be able to take up space in that way. I would love to feel like I was worthy of going up on stage and having my question asked, or worthy of having the attention of an entire room for me to ask a question that was personal to myself. I'm a speaker. I speak in front of large rooms and stages. I've done over 600 people. And because I'm presenting something that I deem to be very valuable, as deemed by me and the people that hire me, it feels fine for me. So I'm fine to do that on stages that are big when I'm like, okay, the perfectionist in me is like, I know what I'm talking about. I know how to provide value. But for me to go up with a personal request, a personal question, without knowing where the conversation would go, without knowing like what's going to happen, that is like terrifying to me and scary. And I was just blown away at this experience. And it really made me think about all the ways in which we are not able to take up space and people are not able to take up space. And I, in particular, am not able to take up space, and why this situation was so incredibly triggering for me. And what I'm going to share today and what I want to talk about is taking up space. So signs you're not taking up space. I want to talk about why you don't feel like you can take up space. So what happened in your childhood, what happened when you were growing up, what happened in your relationship with your parents. Maybe they were narcissistic, maybe they're emotionally unavailable. And then really what we can do together to take up more space. And I will say, you guys, my goal and intention is not for you to be those men that went on stage. You can if you want. If you want to be that baller and just do your thing, you can. But my goal is for us as women in particular, and I'm speaking mostly to women when I talk on this show, is to have more confidence and more belief in our ability to take up space and our ability to be ourselves, our ability to feel worthy of attention, to feel worthy of having our needs met, to feel worthy of being listened to feel worthy of being heard, to feel worthy of being on stages, to feel worthy of having attention on us, to feel worthy of being in our power and not feeling like we're doing something wrong when we are. Because the concept of taking up space, if we go, back a little bit into the concept of taking up space, we can think about it emotionally, we can think about it psychically, we can think about it physically. I like to think about taking up space in all of those ways. So we'll use me as an example. In my childhood, I grew up with narcissistic, emotionally unavailable parents. And so a lot of the ways that I figured out how to exist, besides being parentified, besides being invisible, besides being in service to everyone else's needs, besides emotional attunement, besides, all of these things, which we'll talk about, was not taking up any space. The emotions and needs and desires of my parents, who essentially are children themselves in a lot of ways, their needs were paramount. So to survive, I figured out to remove or not have my needs or not think that I had any needs to last. It was fully in service to their needs. So when I see someone going up on stage that is taking up space without thought about anyone else, there's the trigger for me of, okay, here's another situation where I have someone that is so unaware of what anyone else is feeling, thinking, or doing and taking up space. And for someone that was a younger child that had to live their whole life concerned about what everyone else was thinking, feeling, and doing, that is triggering for me, because my inner child is like, girl, I wish that I could just not care what anyone else was thinking, feeling, and doing at one point in time in my life. And I wish I could just think about having my needs met. This person just goes up on stage and they want to have their needs met and they're not thinking about everyone else. How rude. I have to think about everyone else. I have to care about everyone else. I have to be so concerned about what everyone else is feeling, thinking, or doing, is the story that my inner child says. So there may be a few reasons why someone doesn't feel like they can take up space, like we said. So maybe you grew up in a household where you were shut down a lot. I've also had this as well, where if I had an emotional expression or feeling, if I was upset, if I was mad, anger, if I ever had anger, it was shut down very quickly. So you learn almost from a muscle memory perspective to shut that feeling down, to shut that experience down. A lot of our reactions in life are muscle memory. From an internal family systems perspective, something that I'm informed in, what I love about IFS is that the concept of parts is oftentimes just our muscle memory. You, from a young age, are learning muscle memory responses to your parents to make things easier. So maybe you were criticized for being too loud. Maybe you were criticized for being too much. Maybe you're criticized for being too attractive. Maybe you're criticized for being too smart. Maybe you're criticized for being too needy or too sensitive. You would also then process and determine this from a young age as being bad, and that it was not good to have needs. It was not good to be sensitive. So a lot of those examples are emotional taking up space, having feelings, having needs, being able to express.
Great health starts in your gut. Okay. I've been taking seed for almost 4 years now. I take it every single morning. I take 2 capsules with a glass of water. It's the first thing I put in my body. And I've just noticed such a difference. And why? Like I said, your gut is where it's at, where it starts. It's a central hub for so many pathways through the body. And your healthy gut microbiome means benefits for things like digestion, skin health, heart health, your immune system, and so much more. Now, why is seed different than other probiotics, prebiotics? So, the DSO1 Daily Symbiotic from Seed has a patented capsule in capsule design, which means that fragile bacteria can survive the journey. It is a long journey, y'all, from like putting it in your mouth, even like before that, in the bottle, shipping to your door. But it survives all the way to the bottle into your mouth through your entire digestive tract and gets to where it really needs to be. And it does this without any synthetic or chemical coatings. It's pretty phenomenal. It was developed in collaboration with Seed Scientific Board. They are all about the science. If you go to their website, there is just a load of information. You can learn so much. And with new clinical trials and breakthrough research published in top scientific journals, Seed's probiotic research, development, and innovation programs make DSO1 a product you can truly trust. Trust your gut with Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. Go to seed.com/almost and use code 25almost to get 25% off your first month. That's 25% off your first month of Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic at seed.com/almost. The code is 25almost. Hey babes, I have some hair care products for you that I'm loving. This episode is proudly brought to you by Lola V. Lola V is an award-winning hair care line founded by the fabulous Jennifer Aniston, hair icon. No intro needed. um, Jen was tired of the same old struggle. Yes, Jen. Jen. She was choosing between hair products that worked and didn't work and was good for us and not. And she's like, well, what the heck? So with Lola V, that dilemma is history. Um, I don't know about you, but I put my hair through the ringer. From coloring to heat styling, stress, aging, the list goes on. Over time, it really takes a toll on your hair. I also was pregnant recently. And I have just been loving their products. So I wanted to share about first the glossing detangler. Oh man, ever since I got pregnant and had a kid, my hair has been long and I just find that it is so tangled all the time. So this glossing detangler works like a charm. And then I use the perfecting leave-in conditioner. This just ensures my locks are so silky smooth. I'm not tangled. It's amazing. It's like my hair's best friend. So those are the two like cult classics that I am loving. Okay, babies. I want you to try Lola V, unlock Jennifer Aniston approved hair right now at lolav.com. That's LOLAVIE.com. And as our loyal listeners, you'll get an exclusive 15% off your entire order when you use the code A30POD at checkout. That's 15% off your order at lolav.com, LOLAVIE.com with promo code A30POD. And please note, you can only use one promo code per order and discounts can't be combined. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. And please support our show and tell them we sent you. It means the world. Can't wait for you to try. Your hair will thank you.
There's also psychic space. So if you listen to the podcast, you probably understand this, but from a concept from a larger level is that we should be able to be in psychic space with people, in peaceful psychic space with those that we love. So the experience that we have with people that we really love in our lives that can feel really peaceful and at ease is when we have a peaceful psychic field. This is kind of a 201 concept, but those people in our lives that we feel at home with, that we feel at peace with, that we feel at ease with, oftentimes we have a clear psychic field, which means I've said everything you need to hear from my end. You've said everything you need to hear from your end. We have no issues between us. There's nothing that would keep us from intimacy. We're very honest in our communication. We're very honest with ourselves. We don't have a lot of thoughts or emotions or feelings that we haven't processed that we're bringing to this situation. It's everything that's unseen about our emotional state and the thoughts and feelings we have about other people in relationship to them. So an example of someone taking up psychic space would be if you grew up in a household where your parents were very, very unhappy in their relationship and they actually didn't talk about anything they were feeling. The conversations that they're practicing in their heads, the conversations that they're, kind of walking through in their heads, they're responding to them 5 days later in their head about something. This is creating psychic energy between them that oftentimes can be very confusing for children that are very psychic. So their psychic space that is being taken up with the issues that they have between each other can also get in your field. Your mother or father would be approaching you without true awareness or attunement of you as a child and the experience that you're having. So if your mother just got in a fight with your father and they're still kind of fuming and they're circling in their heads and everything's sort of going on, and then they go to pick you up in the crib, their psychic space is clogged with the problems and issues that they've been in, maybe about work, maybe about your family, and you actually have no psychic space to breathe or connect with someone because you're trying to attune or figure out what's going on with your parents because you need them to survive. So there's psychic space, taking up psychic emotional space. There's also taking up space physically. And this is the experience of having boundaries and having your boundaries respected, not having your boundaries violated. An example of this would be being able to be in your room, in your childhood room, and have your parents knock on the door. Have them ask to come in. Respecting you in the morning if you got up late and not, bursting in and waking you up. If they're touching you without your permission, and that could be sexually, obviously, or it could just be, any other way. It's when you're a child and your parents are telling you to hug a stranger that you don't want to hug. There's a lot of different ways that you can be made to feel small or unsafe in your body, or like it's not okay for your body to exist in a space physically. So there's a lot of ways that we can be afraid to take up space, and they can hit on, a variety of different areas. Some of the signs that we can look at for ways to know if we're not taking up space, and a lot of the things were examples that I had to write down myself, were, do you always shift the focus onto others where you're in conversation and try and not talk about yourself? Do you always shift the focus in conversation when you're with others or in a group and try to not talk about yourself? This is why I have a podcast. And you're thinking, Krista, you've talked for like 20 minutes, dude. You're taking up space. This is healing, honey. I spent my entire life in service to others in conversation and in group, asking questions about them in facilitation with them. An example of this would be when I've been going on dates because I'm single. And I would make almost every conversation with every man fully about him. And we'd go into like a healing therapy session and they would leave like, oh my God, I just got healed. That was therapy. What just went on? But because I'm uncomfortable taking up space as like an equal participant in the relationship, I would just make it all about them. This is why I had a podcast and why we started in the first place, because we interviewed people. So I'm interviewing and making an entire conversation about someone else. I'm facilitating something about else. So you'd be in a circle, you'd be at work, you'd be with friends. What's up with you? How are you? Oh my gosh, tell me about what's going on with you and that guy. Tell me about how work is. Tell me about if you got that raise. Wait, did your mom say that thing? What happened with this? And you constantly kick the ball back to that person for them to take up all the space. Now, obviously in relationships and friendships, there's going to be points in time where they're taking up more space than you're taking up more space. But overall, you should be in relationships where there's reciprocal amount of space being taken up. If you're in groups where you're trying to not talk about yourself, maybe someone's like, oh my God, what's up with that new project you're doing? You're like, oh yeah, it's just a thing. But like, okay, so what's going on with you? And you completely disregard what you're doing, how you feel, anything that like you have going on in your specific life, you're not taking up space. The experience of being in your body, being in touch with yourself, thinking, oh yeah, I'm really excited about that project I'm working on. I actually have been doing it for like 6 months now. It's something that's been really hard for me to kind of get momentum around. I'm feeling excited about launching it in June. And I would even love if you'd support me. Like that is totally different than like you being like, yeah, it's really hard, but ask me about it later. Voila. I mean, growing up in the Midwest, you guys, I was the queen of deflecting. I'm the queen of like, making yourself being like, oh yeah, I'm so stupid. How could I do that project anyway? And you do this, you shift the focus because it's scary to have the focus if your parents are emotionally unavailable or they're narcissistic, because you don't know what's going to happen. It's unsafe in a lot of ways. So you want to deflect. There's another experience of people that are unable to take up space where you're unable to say no. So if you are someone in relationship with people at work or whatever it is that you're doing, and you're unable to say no to people, your boss says, hey, would love, for you to work on this report over the weekend. I know you have kids and I know you have like your son's soccer thing, but I just would love if you, really helped me with this. That's a boundary issue, of course. And that's saying no because you know that like you are an equal participant in this relationship and that your life has meaning and value and that you are not going to shrink for the needs and desires of someone else. So if you're unable to say no, you're oftentimes unable to take up space. This also happened for me in regards to intimate relationships and sex. So someone that went through my own experience healing sexual trauma. And you can tell in my body language, if you're watching on YouTube, how my body's shifting. And even just thinking about this, I had to relearn my no, and I had to relearn the trust in my no and the trust in my body, like being with my body of like, no, that's actually a no for me. And a lot of us women have had our boundaries violated within our bodies, and we feel like we can't take up space intimately in relationships. And so we feel like we can't say no. So that's another way to tell if you're not taking up space. Another sign you aren't taking up space. You feel haunted by the need to be productive at all times and feel terrible when you cannot work for any reason. Part of taking up space is being able to take up space on the couch, baby. It's being able to rest, have reprieve, to sleep in, to not be doing something all the time. If you are someone that is burning yourself out, feeling like your worth is determined on your productivity, always constantly going, and I'm hearing myself talk and thinking about myself doing this now, then you are not letting yourself take up space. When we allow ourselves to take up space, we allow ourselves to take up space in our fullness, in our imperfections, in our rest, in our play, in our creativity, in our expression, in our voice. It is everything. And what can happen, and this is something that's happened to me, if you grew up with parents that were narcissistic or emotionally unavailable and you felt like you couldn't take up space, you learned from a young age, the way that I'm able to take up space is by being perfect or being productive or being smart or being pretty or being what they want me to be. So I learned from a young age that the ways that I was allowed to take up space, because a lot of times emotionally unavailable and narcissistic parents allow you to take up space in specific ways that are in service to them. So I learned that the way I could take up space was by being pretty, by being thin, by being perfect, and by being an overachiever. And so it's like that part of me, part from an internal family systems perspective, is like, okay, so I can take up space if I'm perfect, if I'm pretty, if I'm thin, and if I've been productive. That sounds good. We've got that under control. Otherwise, all other parts, if I want to be lazy, if I want to be mad, if I want to be angry, if I want to be a little slob, a little dirt pig, is not okay. Productivity, yes. Skinniness, yes. Attractiveness, yes. The rest of me, no. So this shows up in my life with speaking as an example. So when I go on stages and speak with people, that feels okay for me to take up space because I'm trying my best to be attractive. I've got my whole look going down. Trying my best to be productive because it is productive. I'm sitting in front of people. I'm talking to them. And it really, really hits on my desire to be perfect. I'm going to give the most perfect speech. It's going to blow them away. I'm going to be funny and cool and interesting. And I'm really going to hit home with this. So I'm able to take up space in that specific way. So my example, I'm hopeful, was helpful. So you can look back at ways in which in your life you are able to take up space and where it's comfortable based on your childhood. You could be someone that it's okay to take up space when you're being smart, when you say something that's really interesting, when you're being funny, when you are getting good grades, when you are achieving at sports. A lot of these things are achievement-based, externally focused. So a note on this, a little intonation on this point, loving this experience enough to make this your superpower is something that will change the game for you. So in this, my awareness of what's going on, okay, I have this desire to be perfect. I have this desire to look perfect, say the perfect thing, blah, 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 which is boring, by the way. That is a part of me. We love that part of me. I'm so grateful for it. How can we be aware of it, be in tune with it, but also use it as my superpower, where it's like, I come correct when I'm coming to speak. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've thought of all the things. I've practiced 100 times. That part of me is still being satisfied. And that part of me is also helping me succeed. So that's a little note. So another idea for you would be to not only think about all the ways in which you are okay taking up space, but also to think about the ways in which you can make that part of your superpower. If you're someone that is very achievement focused, it's probably got you really far in life. We want to love that. And then we also want to be mindful of where that's going a little too far.
Okay, if you listen to this episode, you've most likely heard about human design, but have you looked up what your human design is, and have you read about it, and have you become obsessed with it and realized that these aspects of who you are what you can lean into and leverage as your superpowers in this lifetime? If you have, or if you haven't, please keep listening because I have an incredible, incredible opportunity for you. We are partnering with Human Design Blueprint. Our friend Erin Claire Jones, the founder, was recently on the podcast. Check that episode out. We are partnering with Human Design Blueprint because we want you to get your personalized chart with an almost 30 flare. It is 55 pages all about your unique human design, delivered as a downloadable PDF in 7 days or less. This is custom made to order, and it's all just for $95. Plus, you'll get 10% off with our code. Stay tuned for that. But if you're not familiar with human design, let me tell you, I have learned so many things about myself, and it has helped me in my relationships, in my career, in my creativity, and now as a mother. I have learned how to best make decisions, how I create aligned opportunities, how I am uniquely designed to lead and operate, how I best process things. I was going into a part of my chart the other day. It's a channel, it's called Clarity, and I am meant to wait for clarity. And it's not always, an instantaneous thing. Sometimes it's a sleep on it type of thing. Sometimes it takes quite a lot of time. It is kind of an unknown, uncomfortable process for me at times, but I do know that it is coming. And it's really helped me in my relationship with Sean because sometimes he wants to know an answer like in the moment. And I'm like, babe, I need space and I need time. I know it will become clear, but we need to give me that. And it's just been so, so helpful for us. Also, part of my chart tells me I am designed to experience the full range of my emotions, baby. It's going to be up and down. I have to ride the emotional waves. I have to trust that my emotions are always moving. And I may not always know why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, but I'm meant to take my time feeling them, and I'm meant to take my time with decisions. So it's just been insanely helpful. Now, when you get your blueprint, you're also going to receive 2 bonus videos from Krista and I. These are like video diaries. We dive into our chart in a way that we haven't before, sharing like exclusive things we're doing right now, leaning into in this period in our life related to dating, marriage, motherhood, entrepreneurship, and so much more. And I just can't wait for you to receive this. So, your blueprint, you're going to receive the 2 bonus videos, all on your human design. And again, human design, it's weaving together the zodiac, Eastern philosophy, and complex NASA planetary data. It is wildly accurate. So go to humandesignblueprint.com/almost30. You're going to use the code almost30 for 10% off right now.
Another way you can find out if you're not taking up space is you can find it hard to engage in free time, in finding play, doing something that does not yield results, anything that is measurable or work-related outcomes. So if you find yourself unable to schedule free time, unable to relax, unable to just do things for the heck of it, unable to do anything without the outcome or without feeling like it's productive, this is you not taking up space, because what you're doing is not allowing specific parts of you that were not loved, honored, and accepted and supported exist in the world. So for me, as an example, I remember when I was very young, I was really depressed. I had clinical depression from a very young age. And I remember this depression came on because there was a ghost in my house. I really think there was a ghost in my house. There was some weird shit going on in my house. My parents were also depressed. And it was around the time that I was like, quote unquote, parentified. The parentified child is a child that takes on the emotional, sometimes physical, sometimes psychic needs of the parents. So you see that your parents are incapable of being emotionally there for you, being emotionally attuned for you, maybe even taking care of the home or the laundry or the food. And you realize from a young age that you have to do that yourself. So when this happened to me, when I realized that I had to take care of the emotional needs and the psychic needs of my parents in my home to survive, I was so depressed because I realized from a young age that I wasn't going to be a kid, that I couldn't play and I couldn't have an imagination and I couldn't rest and I couldn't just go in the woods and I couldn't just like run around naked and just do my thing and just be goofy, loofy and have fun. And it was really, really sad. I realized that I had to have everything have purpose. I had to have everything be just so. And I had to do whatever I could to get the attention of my parents. So oftentimes people that are afraid to take up space can take up space in certain ways and feel comfortable, but not in rest and play. So looking at how you rest and play is really, really huge. I also think this is an obvious one, but if you're afraid to engage in any type of self-promotion or, talking about yourself or talking about what's good, even when situations are appropriate, like job interviews or with your best friends, this is a really, really easy one to tell. I would love for you all to just noodle on this. When is the last time you called a friend, you called your family, you told your partner, you told your therapist, all of the amazing things that are happening in your life? When was the last time you said, yo, girl, can I just tell you, I feel so healthy today. I feel so vital. I feel so alive. I feel so grateful. I have so much good going on in my life. Can I tell you about all the good things? Can I explain to you in detail all the amazing things that are happening in my life? Not many of us. I work with people one-on-one. I have one-on-one clients. And one of my favorite aspects of having one-on-one clients and working with people is we have our calls and we also have our communications. And in it, I'm that place for them where they can share about all the good that's happening in their life. I just got a 20-minute voice note of the most amazing news of all time happening to this woman's life. I get these messages of success and growth and gratitude and magic and intuition all the time. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's such a difference than how we treat most of the people in our lives, because we're scared of taking up space. We're scared of being like, yo, I'm really good at this, actually. I'm actually a really good speaker. I'm actually a really good graphic designer. I'm actually a really good organizer. I'm a really good finance person. Hee hee. Obviously not. I'm really good at this. I would love to tell you about it. Or at a party, if someone's like, yo, congratulations on that thing, you're like, oh yeah, I freaking can't believe it either. Instead of being like, oh yeah, that means a lot. Like it was really something that was amazing and I did a really good job. Taking up space is being honest with yourself and others about how amazing and powerful you are. For a lot of us, if we did take up space in that way, the attention would be flipped. If we had narcissistic or emotionally unavailable parents, oftentimes they would flip things on us. So as an example, I had something happen. We were on the cover of a magazine. This cover in the magazine came out and, I had someone in my life say, I can't believe that you're on the cover of this magazine because I'm the worst parent. And it's like, how as a person am I able to be excited about being on the cover of a magazine if you're negating your own experience or talking bad about yourself in the process of complimenting me? So narcissistic and emotionally unavailable parents will oftentimes compliment you, negate themselves. I'm the worst mother ever. I'm the worst. I did the worst. There's a bait and switch almost, or they'll be like, yeah, this is a really nice magazine, but it's not anything really special. You could be doing bigger. Or did you see what this person is doing? that's really powerful what they're doing. So you've had your experience of your achievements and the things that you've done negated quite often. So you're afraid to talk about them. And for a lot of people, growing up, I grew up in Ohio. So in Ohio, people didn't want to hear about how good you're doing. I mean, what are you talking about? We don't want to hear how good you're doing. We hate our jobs. We hate our lives. It's gray all the time. And we live in cornfields. Love Ohio, you guys. Truly, madly deep. I'm grateful I went there. But I'm just saying, all over the world, not everywhere is a place that supports you and your bigness and taking up space because other people want to take up space. So the inability to take up space is why many trauma survivors feel alone. If you're unable to take up space, this is why you may feel alone in life, because even when we're surrounded by people, you can feel unseen, you can feel unheard, and you can feel as if you are alone. In other words, you're really shutting down the doorway to genuine intimacy by not taking up space. I had the beautiful reflection from people in my life in the past couple years that said, I love you so much. I want to be so close to you, but it is hard for me because you always are overgiving, overfunctioning, and making everything about me. And I actually don't know anything that's going on with you internally. And I always deflected. And so when I would be in relationships with people that were narcissistic or emotionally immature, they loved it. They were like, this girl's all about me. Like, this is fun. And then when I grew up and met women that were like, no, I actually want to know you, they pressed me and they're like, girl, you have to share about what's going on with you. What's happening in your life? I want to know deeply and intimately how you feel about this. And so in relationships, we can feel alone. We can feel like we have to perform if we're not able to take up space within them. Oftentimes people who struggle to take up space are in unhealthy relationships. So they're people that want to be seen, heard, and felt and loved, but it's really challenging because they attract self-centered, narcissistic, emotionally stunted, and selfish people who take advantage of them. This was my journey in most of my relationships in life. Because of the way that I was co-creating relationships and dynamics with people that were my parents. We've heard the whole song and dance before. And until I was able to actually take up space and recalibrate to my own power, my own gifts, I was in these cycles of relationships with people that didn't really care about me, didn't really want to see me in my bigness and fullness, didn't really want to hear what I have to say because they were narcissistic. I was codependent. I was feeling safe in their presence because I knew how to control the situation by being small, and they knew how to be by being big and taking up space. It's really common for one person in a couple to take up too much space and one person in a couple to take up not enough space. We've all seen this happen. So we always have to be mindful of this dynamic, especially as women. So some people could think that taking up too much space is selfish. We could look at those guys on stage at Abraham and say, that is so freaking selfish. How is that possible? And in a way it could be, I'm still up for debate on that. But in reality, taking up space is a really sign of healthy strength and self-confidence. It allows you to be received and seen by others, and importantly, for you to manifest your gifts in life. By taking up space, you're able to say, I'm here, I'm not going to be ignored, and I deserve to be a part of this. I've learned and seen over time in my own journey and process in my healing from narcissistic abuse that my ability to take up space has been directly correlated to my ability to have deep, intimate relationships, to feel less alone in the world, and to manifest my gifts into the world. To be able to share my truth and my heart with you on a microphone, to be able to step on stages, to be able to host retreats with women where I'm able to meet them fully in their truth and in my truth. And importantly, it's been such a beautiful experience of like being in the truth and honesty of who God made me. And this is something that I think is incredibly important for us all to think about, but God made you who you are on purpose. So if God, the creator of the universe, is calling you to be in your fullness and be in your magic and be great, stop talking God out of it. Stop talking the universe out of it. Stop apologizing for who God made you to be. You don't need anyone else's endorsement to be who you are, to be in your greatness. And when I realized God, the creator, universe, however you call it, God, goddess, divine, made me as this person, and I kept apologizing and contorting, ignoring it and doubting it. And I'm like, what am I doing? I was made in this way. Why am I apologizing for it by going into rooms and ignoring my needs, ignoring my opinion, not making it about me, getting frustrated that I wasn't being myself, I wasn't being met. And when I could actually like let my greatness be seen and felt and experienced because it was given to me, because it's a part of who I am, everything changed. So if God is calling you to be big and to take up space, don't talk him out of it. It's part of your divine birthright on earth to be able to take up all the space possible. So if we talk about taking up space, how do we do it? So the first thing is with the body. So I cannot overlook the body in everything, in me being in my voice, in my authentic communication, me being in deep, intimate relationships with people that I love, and me feeling like myself, and me being in my authenticity, and me taking up space. Physically with the body is the best way to start. And that means being in tune and in touch and grounded in and connected to the body, feeling our feet on the earth, feeling all the cells in our body vibrating together as one, feeling safe enough to be in the body, feeling calm enough to be in the body, having a relaxed nervous system. This is how you get in touch with the antenna, your vessel for divinity, your antenna to the world, enough to be able to be in relationship to others, being able to read situations, being able to like be comfortable, calm and cool, and be able to be yourself. If you were someone from a young age that was emotionally attuning to everyone in the room, someone that's deeply sensitive or empathic like myself, you lose yourself in every situation. You're like, okay, what do they want me to be? What do they want me to say? How do they feel? What's going on with them? Once I was able to be like, whoop, 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 boundaries, back up in myself, and I've done episodes on the empath journey, so you can search empath almost 30 for more about this. Then I was able to be like, oh yeah, actually, I'm only concerned about my energetic field and my energetic experience. So physically in the body, actually physically allowing ourselves to take up space, standing up straight, feet on the ground, being comfortable, cool, calm, and collected, in clothes that feel comfortable even, and just being present enough to be in a regulated nervous system in the body, in places. Being with your emotions is another way for you to take up space. So I cry a lot. I am a processor. I don't really attach stories to it that much. It's part of my gifts is like processing, through tears. So if I'm in a space and place where I start to cry, it's like, no apologies. It's just like, it is what it is. Being with our emotions. Oh, there's a truth in my emotions right now. I'm feeling something. Ooh, at the Abraham event, I'm feeling triggered. I am feeling triggered. Yep. I'm going to take up space because I'm going to acknowledge, be with, and not judge how I feel. If I'm not taking up space, I'm like, that's not good to judge. That man has something good to say. We should listen up. I'm a bad person because I'm triggered by this. No, being with your emotions and being honest with yourself about how you feel, honest confusion, even if you're confused about how you feel, over fake clarity always. Being with your emotions in truth really helps you take up space.
Replenishing your electrolytes is so important. If you are someone that loves to go out and have a couple glasses of wine, you need to replenish your electrolytes. If you are someone who loves to work out almost every day, got to replenish those electrolytes. If you're just someone that has a really active lifestyle in general, yes, you have to replenish your electrolytes. Plain old water ain't gonna do it. So I am obsessed with Element, LMNT. Where do I begin? I know that I wouldn't have been able to have the incredibly healthy, energetic pregnancy that I had, and also now be able to produce the amount of milk that I produce for my child. Um, One of the main ways that I know I produce milk is proper hydration. And I, on average, have 2 element packets a day. I will put a packet into at least 40 ounces of water. I like it a little diluted. And I just take that down. This is a science backed electrolyte ratio of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. There's no junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, nothing like that. I'm a true believer. I bring it with me everywhere I go, especially when I travel. If you are someone who experiences headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, sleeplessness, and other common symptoms of electrolyte deficiency, please trust me. You must incorporate Element into your routine. So, right now, Element is offering my listeners a free sample with any order. That's 8 single serving packets, free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend, baby. Did I mention? This is pretty big. They now have sparkling Element. I got an advanced shipment of this, and I have to say, I'm obsessed. I'm a sparkly girl. It's really good. And I think if you're someone who loves like a cocktail, I think this would be a good mix in a cocktail, and it would definitely, in my opinion, potentially keep you hydrated while drinking. So get yours at drinkelement.com/almost30. That's drinkelement.com/almost30. This deal is only available through my link. So go to drinkelement.com/almost30, drinkelement.com/almost30. I have an app for all of you. You know, I got you. You know, I got you. I would not steer you wrong. And the app that I am loving right now is called Stardust. This is a period tracking app. They also track the pregnancy cycle. So if you're pregnant, this is an incredible app for you. I wish I had it when I was pregnant the first time. I will definitely be using it if and when I get pregnant again. But this is a combination within the app of science, astrology, and artificial intelligence to basically empower you to understand and embrace your body. So their newly launched pregnancy mode, which again, I wish I had, provides real time and personalized support for expecting parents. So it's a really amazing blend of medically backed recommendations with like some lighthearted interaction, the astrology between you and your baby, daily affirmations for each trimester and symptom tracking, quirky push notifications, and a week at a glance view on upcoming screenings and tests and body changes. I just found it to be like, they gave me access to the pregnancy mode. And I was like, wow, this is such a balanced experience. I get the science. I can understand what's happening in my body, to my body. And then I can also link it to daily forecasts and astrology. I can gain insights on my hormones synced with the moon. I can see like a virtual AR of my baby at certain points in development. So I love it. I highly recommend. This is the one app you need for period tracking and for tracking your pregnancy cycle. So I'm really excited for you. You can download the app now at stardust.app, stardust.app, and you can use our code almost30. This is going to get you 1 month free of premium, and you'll also receive a discounted price for each month of premium thereafter. So use the code almost30 at stardust.app. I'm excited for you to try this. Again, this is to celebrate our bodies. So the period tracking, the pregnancy cycle tracking, it's to celebrate our incredible bodies, to bring more confidence and joy and connection. So I'm excited for you. Stardust.app. Use the code almost30.
Also, having confidence in your worthiness and your inherent value. And I know this is a whole chapter, journey, and book, and we all have our worthiness wound. But when you are able to have confidence in who you inherently are, in your inherent worth as a unique individual on earth that God created for a reason, then you are like, oh yeah, I can take up space. God doesn't make mistakes. God did not make any of you on accident. Literally, when that one of the men was on stage, annoying me to death, and I'm like angry, I literally thought to myself, and I do this all, I'm like, God made that. God made that to piss me off. Kind of. God made it to piss me off. And God made that for a reason. I don't know why, but God made that person. God makes everything with purpose. So having confidence in your inherent value and worth as a human being on earth outside of productivity, outside of doing for your mere existence, the mere magic of your existence. You can also think about taking up space in relationships. Relationships are two-way streets. Relationships should be reciprocal. If you get anything from this, trust and believe that your relationship should be reciprocal. The number one reason why relationships end is because people don't feel like they're reciprocal. You should be in reciprocal relationships where you feel like there is a balance over time of you taking up space, of them taking up space. If you are in imbalanced relationships, and I was in quite a bit of them, there may be a time for them to fall away and for you guys to recalibrate and come back together, or for you to move on with new relationships. Relationships should be reciprocal. You should be taking up space. They should be as well. This is a lot of your work to give people a lot of opportunities to allow you to take up space if you're someone that doesn't. So if you are in relationships with someone that takes up a lot of space and you don't, it's going to be a little bit of a period of recalibration. So you both can find a place where they're taking up less space, you're taking up more space. And oftentimes that person doesn't like you taking up space. So it's probably going to end, but there should be a recalibration period, but your relationship should be reciprocal. One of the ways that I've really learned about taking up space and all the patterns I had around taking up space and my fears of taking up space and the nuance of that as it relates to my body and my voice and my power and my female relationships was me doing mother wound healing. So we've talked about the mother wound quite a bit on the podcast. I've done my own podcasts about it. I've been on my own journey over the past 8 years. It is really the linchpin for me of all healing in my life. My relationship with my mother set the tone for my issues with my body, with my weight, with my romantic relationships, with my power, with my voice, with my female relationships, with money. It's everything. This relationship that is your life, that sets the foundation for your survival, is how you learn to relate to the world. So me working on my mother wound healing was one of the biggest things that really supported me in taking up space. This is why I'm doing the Divine Mother Retreat in Portugal. So just a note, I'm doing a Divine Mother Retreat in Portugal in May of 2024, the 24th through the 29th at Cocoon, Portugal. It's going to be 6 nights, 5 days of deep mother wound healing, of really uncovering the patterns that you're in as it relates to your mother wound, of being in community with women that are incredible and loving and deep and cool, that will be your friends, that will hold space for you. Being healed and taught by me, eating nourishing organic food on this farm. It's going to be amazing. So that is a little bit of a plug. It's Krista.com. It's ITSKRISTA.com. Divine Mother Retreat is right on there. It's Krista.com, Divine Mother Retreat in Portugal. But come to that or not, listen to the episodes for free on the mother wound. You can search Mother Almost 30. There's a lot on there. Exploring your relationship to your mother, how they impacted you, how they made you see yourself, how they made you be in relationship to other women, to romantic partners, to your work, to your power, is a really good one. You can do that in journaling. You can do that at the retreat with me. You can do that through amazing books like Discover the Inner Mother by Bethany Webster. Great place to start. So, my dear ones, let us all take up space, baby. Next time at Abraham, I'm on stage and I'm asking about freaking nothing for 45 minutes and I'm just going to rip. I'm going to recalibrate and I'm going to over-index to taking up so much space for no freaking reason, and I'm going to be imperfect about it, and it's going to be amazing. I'm excited for you to dive into this, to think about this, to ponder this, to talk about this with your friends and your community, the women and men in your life who really need to learn to take up more space, because everyone listening is a deeply heart-centered, loving, powerful, incredible being that deserves to take up space. Send this to a friend. Send this to someone that you love. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Krista Williams. You can connect with me on Instagram at It's Krista. It's ITSKRISTA. You can go to itskrista.com. I have retreats. I work with people one-on-one. I speak. And almost30.com for everything Almost 30 related. Subscribe, rate, and review to the podcast. It means the world. We also have our daily dose of Almost 30, morning microdose. You can get 5 to 10 minutes of inspiration and insight on our second podcast, morning microdose. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a safe space for me. I love you.